One brother wanted me to answer this question. Why do gangs exist in the black community? The gangs exist in the black community for one reason. J. Edgar Hoover invented them. You got to understand, J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI. He created the FBI. Back in the days when bank robbers were the number one criminals, before the mafia even popped up, I'm talking about Babyface Nelson. I'm talking about Bonnie and Clyde. He was the director of the FBI in that era, the bank robbing era, the John Dillinger era. And he stayed the head of the FBI until like 1970 when he died. So he was the head of the FBI for like 50 years. He was a very powerful man. Now, in its 1960s, black people were very united. You had Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. These were our leaders, and they actually led us. If they told us not to ride the public bus system, we didn't do it. And America lost a lot of money in corporate interest because guess what? People invest stocks and bonds and things of that nature into corporations, and a bus company is a corporation. Yes, they have actual buses that take you to locations and provide transportation, but it's a business. There's stocks. It's on Wall Street and on a global level, you can invest into a bus company. So when an entire group of people decide to not ride the bus, and at that time period, black people were probably the number one constituent of the buses because most other people could afford cars, and most other people lived in the suburbs. They didn't live in the city. Mind you, white flight had already happened. White people already left the cities. So who's riding the buses? Who's left in the cities? Black people. That's a threat. It's not a threat to white people. It's a threat to corporate America. See, people have it wrong. They think it's about race. It's about money. J. Edgar Hoover understood that America had to be the most powerful country in the world. Communism was a threat to America's power, and a threat to our pocketbook was a threat to America. If it threatened our bottom line, if it threatened America's money, it was a threat, and it had to be, and whoever was causing that threat had to be killed. J. Edgar Hoover even investigated rock and roll artists. When rock and roll became very trendy in the 60s, when Jimi Hendrix and all those people did Woodstock, he launched a hardcore COINTELPRO operation on them because the rock and roll personalities like John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix had a very, very big impact on the youth. They were against Vietnam, the hippies, and they caused an entire generation of white people to go against the war. So J. Edgar Hoover launched COINTELPRO against these rock and roll stars. Some of them were murdered. And they disguised it as drug overdoses and things of that nature. But really, at that point in time, America allowed J. Edgar Hoover to control its security internally. The CIA controls our security externally. They kill people. So the CIA will kill you if you're in another country. The FBI will kill you at home. So in the 60s, after Martin Luther King died, they were afraid. Malcolm X had died before that. The Black Panthers were annihilated. They had to create a smoke screen so that black people wouldn't riot or cause some type of revolution. And at that time, revolutions were common. There was a revolution that happened in Cuba. Fidel Castro threw the government away. Batista. He said, you know what? This government is corrupt. You guys are basically giving all our money and our resources to the Italian mafia that's based in America. They own all our casinos. We're basically just a playground for America. We're going to take our country back. And there was a revolution in Cuba, which is 80 miles away from America. They were afraid that the black people would cause a revolution. And although our numbers are very small, America did not want the perception of an all-white government killing a black revolution. That would have been very bad in terms of our image abroad, because even back then we were giving aid to poor countries and we wanted to be looked at as the Christian country and all of that. So they created the gang culture. Gang culture, you kill your friends, you don't kill strangers. That's a myth. Gangs know their enemies very well because you're killing your own childhood friends. I grew up on 34th Street, you grew up on 35th Street. We grew up as friends as children. Then when we turn about 18, your friend killed one of my friends, now the whole split has happened. Now 34th Street and 35th Street have beef. 30 years goes by, generation after generation, beef. Now, as the years go on, the origin of the beef is not even known anymore. People don't even know that we all started out as friends. People on 34th and 35th Street used to be friends with each other. J. Edgar Hoover, he devised a plan to divide and conquer the black people so that we wouldn't unite. So he introduced gangsterism into our culture. And he created a system where childhood friends would go to war with each other. How can you go to war with someone you don't know? If I'm a gangbanger, how can I beef with a gang that I don't know? How can there even be a beef then if I don't know you? In order for me to know where you live at, know where I can catch you at, I have to know you. Most gangs grew up with each other. That's the reason why they're killing each other so effectively, because they know everything about each other. The only people who are beefing that are strangers are your allies. See, it goes like this. Two sets of friends start beefing with each other. Now there's a gang war. So now that we're no longer friends, we find other friends from different areas. So those are the strangers. But the original combatants of the beef were friends. But now that we're no longer friends and we're beefing, we pick new friends. And they are our allies. They're going to help us kill you. So those are the only strangers. But the two original groups, 34th and 35th Street, they were friends at first. Crips, they all started out as one. Then they segmented into different little gangs. And then guess what happened? A double agent was sent into the A-Trade gangsters. They said that this guy joined the gang. He was only in the gang for 24 hours. And he killed Tyrone from the Rolling 60s. And that started a 50-year war. From 1979 to now, that war is still going on. Rolling 60s versus A-Trade gangsters. That's the war that developed the whole foundation of Crippin' in L.A. on the West Coast. Either you're going to be in the gangster car or the rolling car, or whatever, however it goes. A-Trade gangsters versus the Rolling 60s created a rift between all Crips. And Crips, the little Crip gangs had to pick a side because these were the big boys going at war. A double agent was sent into the A-Trade gangsters to kill a Rolling 60s member. It was a regular fist fight. A guy who just joined the gang yesterday killed the guy who lost the fist fight. He killed the Rolling 60s member who was getting the best of his homeboy. And this guy had just joined the gang a day before. And after he killed him, he disappeared and nobody ever seen him since. It's all by design.